Dying Light has a variety of different locations you can explore, and one of these locations are quarantine zones. They're extremely dangerous but also contain special packages that will give you survival XP. Today we'll be looking at every quarantine zone located in the slums, how to complete them and the lore behind them. Quarantine zones were special locations isolated by the military at the beginning of the outbreak, in hopes to secure the rest of the city and cure the quarantined people. As you already know, this didn't end well. The first quarantine zone is the closest to the tower, and you've most likely discovered it during your playthrough. It is the Bright Mountain Tunnel. Just like with the majority of the quarantine zones, the main objective is to get 5 humanitarian packages. I know it's not the real name, but the French term is much shorter. Once you enter the tunnel, there will be immediately a package in this train. There will be a bunch of virals, so I recommend you get rid of them and use their bodies as camouflage. Then a bomber will approach you and explode, luring other infected. But this is actually good because you can push this pipe thing, I don't know what this is, right on the zombies and crush the majority of them, which will give you access to this GRE quarantine box. There will be another package hidden in a train behind these boxes and yet another in this blue container. Near the end of the tunnel that will be blocked by chemicals, there will be a goon guarding yet another GRE chest. I highly recommend that you use the camouflage skill in order to avoid fighting him. Then we have the small tunnel section that contains a lot of enemies but also a lot of loot. The problem is that the military zombies have melee weapons which will still attack you even if you're camouflaged, so you can't easily get rid of them. In addition to this, there is a hole on the other side of the tunnel from which virals will spawn non-stop. And on top of all that, there is gas that will slowly damage you, although it is quite easy to avoid by just simply crouching. This area is very dangerous, but it also contains a lot of loot, which includes 2 GRE boxes, 1 hardlock chest, and 1 humanitarian package. In terms of farming methods, I have already covered them in a previous video, so check it out after this one. The next and closest quarantine zone is the chemical storage area. As the name suggests, it will have a lot of toxic liquids, which makes it one of the most annoying and painful quarantine zones in the entire game. As soon as you enter the quarantine zone, you will immediately see an electrified fence and a bunch of zombies on the other side alongside a GRE box. There are many ways to clear the zombies, but I like to push them in the electrified fence. And just in case you find it scary or you think that you can accidentally take damage from it, you can simply deactivate it using the shutter switch. And now we finally entered the actual storage area, that not only contains chemicals that very rapidly damage the player, but also lots of toads that I recommend you take out immediately using any gun in your inventory. As in this specific quarantine zone, if you make some noise, virals will not spawn. In terms of GRE boxes and packages, finding them is even easier than in the previous one, so I would just say that when getting this specific box, be careful to not accidentally step into the toxic waste, as the hitbox for it can be quite confusing. And in the crate right next to it, you will find a hardlock chest alongside the package. Now we'll have to go to Rice's quarters, as near it is the Holy Year Tunnel quarantine zone. This is also the first quarantine zone that requires to clear all enemies in the area instead of just collecting packages. As soon as you enter the quarantine zone, the first thing you want to do is to lower the crates that are on the top level. This will not only crush the majority of the zombies, but also close up holes in the ground from which virals will infinitely spawn. Once you've done that, now you just have to kill every zombie in the area. I recommend you use the camouflage skill paired with the takedown attack, because it allows you to one-shot zombies without ever getting hit. Also, once there will be a couple of zombies left in the area, they will be marked on your minimap so you don't have to search for them for too long. Now let's talk about our favorite GRE boxes, because in this area they are located very close to each other. Once you enter the tunnel, if you go on your left, you will find 2 GRE boxes. Or if you decide to go on your right side, you will find a hardlock chest. There is also no loot in the various trains, so don't bother searching them, but what you should do is unlock this container door, as right behind it will be located 3 different GRE boxes. Also, these boxes appear to give better loot, but maybe I just got lucky, although knowing that some random boxes in the world have a guaranteed chance of giving you an orange weapon, I'm not so sure about that. Another very good place to farm weapons are the Sunny apartments, as right in front of the quarantine zone you can find 1 police van, 2 ambulances that contain good loot. This is yet another quarantine zone where you have to clear the nest. The area is quite small, but it's littered with smoke that will make the player suffocate, and just like in the Bright Mountain Tunnel, you can simply crouch to avoid taking damage. In order to access different apartments, you have to unlock the doors, and unfortunately you have to clear every single room in order to complete this quest. Because it's an apartment, you can find regular valuables and crafting materials, but you can also find GRE boxes. I'm not sure what they're doing in a simple apartment, but fine, I'll go with it. And just like in the Holy Year Tunnel, if you go to your right after entering the zone, you will find not 2 but 3 GRE boxes in the same exact room, which is a very good place to farm them. Again, more information can be found in a separate video about this. The second floor of the apartment isn't all that interesting, as it contains only 1 simple crate. And very close to the Sunny apartments we can find the Stuffed Turtle supermarket, which is the smallest quarantine zone in the entire game. But despite that, it still contains a total of 5 packages, which makes this location the best place to farm survival and legend XP, excluding duplication glitches. As soon as you enter the building, you will immediately notice that the floor is electrified, and the lever to deactivate it is on the other side of the room. There are many ways you can get there, but I just recommend to simply use your grappling hook, or if you don't have one, just run on top of one of the shelves. Once the threat is gone, you can now collect all packages and leave the quarantine zone in order to repeat this process again and get a lot of XP. But if you actually want to complete this quarantine zone, you will have to lockpick this door, which will contain a lot of biters but also a lot of loot, as in this small area are multiple packages and GRE boxes. Finally, the last quarantine zone will be the underground parking lot, which is very similar to volatile hives from Dying Light the Following. Speaking of which, let me know down in the comments if you want me to make a guide about all of volatile hives. As I said before, this area contains lots of volatiles, and you're supposed to do stealth in this segment, although if you're pretty high level you can simply shoot the volatiles, but that's not really fun. Because this area was made specifically for stealth, as some cars start to make noise upon interacting with them, which attracts volatiles and make playing this map in stealth mode really intense. Another important thing I should mention that all volatiles are regular ones. They're not alpha volatiles, so you can fool them using your disguise. Although it is certainly more stressful to lockpick GRE boxes when right behind you a volatile is screaming. Speaking of chests, there are quite a few of them scattered all around the parking lot, so it's not really a great place to farm them. Also, one thing I've noticed is that while I was acquiring one of the packages, in the elevator room a volatile managed to spot me through the wall. I'm not sure if this is a one-time glitch or this always happens, but just in case, beware of that. This quarantine zone is also unique in the fact that if you complete it in stealth mode without getting spotted by volatiles, you will complete a bounty that will unlock the crafting recipe for special subsonic ammo that silent pistols use. Speaking of which, let me know down in the comments if you want me to make a video about all special and unique weapon types. Oh yeah, and also when you exit the quarantine zone, be ready for a very unpleasant surprise. And that is it for all quarantine zones in the slums. In the next video, I'll take a look at all quarantine zones located in all towns, so make sure to subscribe to not miss that.